I'll call the meeting to order. And if we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Here, a motion for the approval of our agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as published.
Second.
Move. I heard Curly for that. Moved and seconded. Any question, comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. This time we have public comment, and I believe we have.
Yes, and for the record, Chair Lewis, you do have a submission of a comment in front of you from a Sherry Tilford. So on her behalf, that is in front of you that I am submitting.
Perfect.
So are you going to read that into the record?
No, per our policy, I submit it to you if I receive any via email.
Okay.
Under our COVID circumstances, I read them,
But yeah.
but per our policy, I'm submitting it to you today.
So the first is Bryn. And I know everybody knows this. You come all the way over here, and everybody has 3 minutes when they make public comments. So. Hello.
Hello, thank you. I'm Bryn Albowen. My kids started a year and a half ago at the Homeschool Academy. I just wanted to come and support Melinda because I think she's fabulous. I think the school is amazing. I think it's a great supplement for people who really feel passionate about homeschooling for one reason or another, but then they get the social interaction and they get expectations from somebody besides their parent. I think she ebbs and flows well with the things that people want and the things that are going to be addressing the needs of the kids the best. I think I love that she is, I guess, strict enough that things get done, but are still fun and loving with the kids and really helpful with the parents. And really that's all I came to say is that I support her, and I think that all the things that she's doing and ideas that she comes up with that I didn't even know I wanted, but I'm like, oh, that sounds awesome. Are great. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And we have Logan and Shelby Bradford on. Hello and welcome.
Hi there.
We see you.
Can you see here? Come
Yep.
step to the side.
Relay.
I'm Shelby Bradford. This is Logan Bradford. I just wanted to come and say how very grateful I am as a homeschool parent and a homeschool family for the Homeschool Academy. It has been incredible for our family. And I know there's a word of the week at school every week, and excellence is the word this week. And when I really think about that word, we talk about it at home all the time. I think about Melinda because I feel like everything she does, she goes above and beyond. And she is, from her communications with the parents to the ski and ride program, that every single I is dotted and T is crossed and there's no questions. And she's an anomaly. She's awesome. And thank you for making it possible. And thank you for making it possible. And that's all. What do you have to say, Lois?
I think what Ms. Rossman has to provide is very, I said it very sorry. I think what Ms. Rossman has to provide is very educating and very, sorry, I forgot.
That's okay.
I get nervous too.
You're doing a great job.
I'm in front of a crowd. I think we just wanted to say thank you.
Absolutely.
It's a good thing.
Yeah.
Wait,
We love it.
Logan, what grade are you in?
I'm in third.
Fourth.
Fourth.
Well, it does kind of like span.
Yeah.
When you're in Homeschool Academy, there's a lot of flex in there.
Yeah,
So,
we all kind of
Yeah.
learn as a group.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good job.
And our third public comment is from Katie Knox.
Hi, I'm Katie Nobbs, and we started our homeschool journey when COVID hit. And this last fall, we decided to move to the area to be closer to my parents. And we were really on the fence about whether to continue homeschooling or to send it back to public school, predominantly because the social aspect for this age of kids is so important. And we found out about the Homeschool Academy. It was an amazing opportunity for my kids to have those extracurricular activities, to get that social engagement. And like the other two parents here said, I really respect Melinda's ability to be that leader for the kids. She has a good sense of when they need to have that firm line, but also being very approachable, working through issues with them, being a support person, and the opportunities and the enrichment she gives is unparalleled. The kids love going to that school. They love the opportunities they get. They love the activities they do. And we are really looking forward to next year with them.
Great, thank you. That is all I have on public comment. So at that, we're going to move straight into administrative, and Melinda Rossman is up with a presentation about homeschooling.
I always have to bring cheerleaders when I
I
do something.
love it. You primed the crowd here. We're ready for it.
So if you don't know, I'm Melinda Rossman, and 5 years ago, I was hired to design and create the Homeschool Academy. And here we are, the last week of the 5th year. And we have 99 students on the roster, and I'm sure this summer we're going to add at least 25 more and start next year with the largest population yet. I do have a little slideshow, but hold on. Do you mind clicking them for me in a second?
No problem.
But this week marks the completion of 5 years of the Homeschool Academy, and I believe it's the finest arts and science and environmental education school in the entire state of Idaho. I've been involved with education for nearly 42 years to some degree. And I can honestly say I've never known a more dedicated staff of creative professionals that I get to call my instructional staff at the Homeschool Academy. I've been training people for 5 years now. Well, actually for the last 3 years, because the first 2 years it was me and 45 kids in a room. All right, kids, it was like Bill Nye the Science Guy, a lot. But teaching people how to write curriculum, how to address standards, how to make meaningful lessons with really solid outcomes has been such an integral part of what I do for my staff and for what the children get as the results of that work. And we've met and we've got all of our curriculum designed and ready to go for next year, and we're pretty excited about it. And I did a pre-registration, and every seat is filled to this point in time. And then there's some room for adding new families this summer. I can't say no 2 years in a row to people. So there's room to add people this summer for next year's operations. I think our school provides incredible learning opportunities that are unique and different. And as you can hear, our families really enjoy them and the children thrive. I'd like to say thank you to the Lake Pend Oreille School District, the board, superintendent, and my boss, Andrea, for trusting me and allowing me to lead, because I'm kind of like an island. And when I'm really in need, I call for help, and the help is always there. But really, you let me lead this school, and I always ask for input. I get input from families, I get input from the students, and that's how we keep recreating what we do each year to make it unique. And every year is different. We offer new courses, we have different students. If I look back at the last 5 years, we've had over 300 students move through the program.
Wow.
And this year we've had over 5,000 student contact days in the face of all of the challenges that we've been dealing with. This summer there's going to be a wall removed at the school to make 2 small rooms into a larger classroom. So we'll have the 2 large classrooms in the back and the big community room up front. That's going to make a huge difference for the operation of our daily classes. And then we'll get our little lunchroom area back because we've been using that as a classroom. What else? Again, thank you for trusting me and allowing me to move this school into the future. And the families, they've become my community. They've become my family. And I trust them with so much. And I know they trust me with their greatest asset, their children. So it's a real blessing. So let's go look at a few slides. And this, we're doing an acrylic painting class. 2 different teachers during the week are teaching an acrylic painting class. This is a painting by a 7-year-old. This is 3 weeks of work, and this is the result. And their finishing touches will happen tomorrow and Thursday, and then they get to take them home this week. So that's a 7-year-old's work at our school. Go ahead to the next slide. This is a 14-year-old slide. This was from her imagination. The 7-year-old had a picture from a camping trip of her and her dog and put it onto a canvas. And a 14-year-old just missed the first 2 classes, and in the 3rd class sat down and did that without a picture.
That's really fun.
So it's just phenomenal to see what the children do at our school. We've endured the most insane year of our lives and have made it to the other side. This school year was the greatest personal and professional challenge of my entire life. And most thankfully, the families and staff that I've had the pleasure of calling community at the Homeschool Academy have been stellar and unparalleled in support, as well as the school district has been. We're gearing up for 21-22, and I plan to have the largest student population yet attending next year. And we'll probably have up to 90 families and 125 students on the roster next year. And I can honestly say it was a year without face coverings at the Homeschool Academy. We were probably the only school in the entire nation that got through the whole school year in the building without face coverings, and we're healthy, and we're standing here to say it. One of our classes has been leather crafting. It's one of the favorite classes of all the children and me. I took the leather crafting class in the fall, and I made a pair of shoes also. These are pamputis, one of the oldest shoes found in archaeological sites. So the children learned the math of making a pattern and being conservative when cutting the leather by creating the pattern and then, placing it on the type of leather they wanted. And that took 7 weeks to make those shoes in each of the classes. So that's something we did really fun. And we do a lot of wild crafting, arts and crafting, where kids take things from clay and then go outside and find things in nature to create really cute things. It's really precious. And then, or arts and craft class. These we made at Christmas time at an arts crafts day. And they found things from nature. They went around and scoured around the building. And then they came back and made little birds or ornaments. And there's little precious activities when we do arts. Myself and Hillary Pedersen, we taught a 5-week winter survival class this year. We had 20 students. We took them out on 5 different Fridays, and we taught them how to make different snow shelters, different types of survival shelters, how to make snowshoes out of boughs, taught them how to make fire without a match and with one match, taught them how to make sustainable fires for emergency situations. It was really, really a good opportunity. We'll repeat that class in the future. We'll keep allowing it to happen. Kids love it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I had really
That's
sticky
okay.
fingers.
I was allowed to spend some money and bring in a special artist, and I've brought her in many times before, and this is fused glass. So she brings all these pieces of glass with these templates, birds or lizards or the turtles. I made a turtle with the kids that day. But you special glue all these fused pieces of glass onto these templates, and she takes them back and heats them up, and the glass fuses together and it becomes smooth. And then I have several of them over the years that hang in my windows, and they're just beautiful pieces of art. And then these were another piece of thing that one of my teachers that was teaching a literacy class this year, she had the kids design story stones. And then the story stones go into a bag, and during the class, they can pull out a story stone, and they have a chance to public speak, create their imagination, and utilize their imagination while telling a story with a story starter. So that's kind of a fun activity during one of our classes. I teach a culinary horticulture class every year in the fall and in the spring, and it's one of the favorites of the kids. And I do it on Tuesdays, so I'm a little tired. I work very hard on Tuesdays, and Miss Bradford's my support member. She's my assistant on Tuesdays, and she works very hard on Tuesdays too. But we made fresh salads of fruit, and that was one of our things. Today we got to do something different we made hand pies. We also have a full-on music program, guitar, ukulele, and a lyre. And the kids are amazing. Hearing the music on Wednesdays throughout the entire building all day long is really awesome for our school, and you guys have allowed me to buy those instruments over the years, and they're being heavily used. Cool. Every year, got to celebrate winter, because winter is my favorite season, and I get to brag about this. Schweitzer uses the program I brought to them for the last 5 years as their precedent model for all other school groups. Like you said, I know, I ran a ski school for 5 years. I was in the business for 25, so I know what to expect and to bring to the table. But we had 80 kids in the program this year and 25 chaperones, and it was a phenomenal year. It's a great relationship with Schweitzer. They treat us so well, and we respect what they give us, absolutely. And then at the end of the year, we have a couple Tuesdays that don't have ski and ride program, so we do the engineering of designing toboggans, and the kids are broken up into teams. This year they were broken up into cohort teams, and of course I had Mr. Olson in the snowshoe hare because we're the home of the snowshoe hares. I asked him if he could make a snowshoe hare toboggan, and so we did have that, and I just love celebrating winter with the families of the Homeschool Academy. And then we had a geography and a geology class this year, and in the geography class, the bigs, our oldest group of kids, they made paper mache globes, and then they learned about all the continents and the major cities and all the continents, and then they could take these paper mache globes home. And here's a picture. This is the 7-year-old that made that painting at the beginning of the show there, or the beginning of the slides, and they made a rocket-powered ferry mobile. That was their sled for the toboggan races.
Of course.
And if you're not on a bike rally with all the kids, then you might find us at the mom's date on the backcountry skis with the snowcats. So 9 moms and I rented a snowcat for the day, and we went skiing in the backcountry.
Whose snowcat is that big blue?
That's the Selkirk snowcat.
That
the Selkirk
is with,
Powder Cats
what's his name?
out of Schweitzer. Yeah.
Ken's.
Yeah, Ken's company.
Ken.
So we had a great
Wow.
day in the backcountry. Shelby was there. There was
pretty
like
cool.
9 moms and me. We had a
Yeah.
great day.
Yeah.
Our garden boxes that were donated to us a few years ago, they get utilized every year. If you stop by, check them out. We primed them, and then we painted them, and then I let each of the kids, because each of the kids own a box, so they got to paint their box. And then we did the greenhouse also. So it just gives a little dance effect to the garden. And then we planted 2 apple and a cherry tree right next to our strawberry patch. So it's becoming quite the little arboretum. And since every other school this year has brought data to you, I thought I'd give you a little data.
We love it.
I did a math tutoring session because parents asked me to bring math tutoring back, and I love math. I love teaching math. I just love it. And I did a pre and post test to do my data collection for the year, and I'm very proud of the results. I did a pre-test with no teaching whatsoever with 3rd through 5th grade skills for my 3rd through 5th grade tutoring group. And they did that, and it was very interesting. The scores anywhere from 12 points to 68 points. Well, my goal was that every child would improve by at least 12 points or 3 to 4 questions per the test that I gave them. And every child increased 28 points or higher by the end of it. And I was really proud of those results. So I had 100% improvement on math proficiency, and everybody met their goal. Students effectively learned spatial distancing, and they also learned how absurd it was that we had to learn it. But they did. They became very proficient at spatial distancing. We had 24,000 hours of attendance, or 4,575 student attendance days, but now we're up to 5,000. We opened with a 30% reduction in funding and a purposeful reduction of students in the building and attendance numbers as compared to other operational years. And then we still offered 4 sessions per week at the building all year, and a few special Friday events throughout the year, and not one student had to wear a mask, and everybody stayed healthy.
Great.
And that's the end. These are the turkeys by my house. They stopped the traffic, and that one flared open. I went, oh, that's got to be the last slide.
That's awesome.
So thank you for supporting our school, and thank you for supporting me. And in the very near future, I would love a playground. And in the very near future, I would love a gymnasium/theater for our school.
The playground was
Just I have to throw it out
If you're
there because
dreaming.
I'm visualizing it.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
I really
Any
appreciate,
questions?
I can remember the very first year you started, and I appreciate seeing the progress every single time you're here. I walked up the stairs and saw people cooking, and I was like, oh, did Melinda cook something for us? She's bringing something to us at the board. It's Tuesday. Next time.
Yeah, can we just show up on Tuesday? And
Yeah.
Food?
food or what?
I see how to get that playground.
Anyway, I thank you, and I don't know if there's other questions for Melinda.
Question, what is the THSA?
The Homeschool Academy.
Homeschool Academy.
I call it THSA just for
So
short.
you have your
The-
own assessment, you don't use the state assessments?
No, we don't do any state assessments. However, every other year I offer the MAPS testing, and I will offer it again next year. Every other year I offer MAPS testing, the NWEA program, because I find that's the most accurate assessment to give children to allow a teacher to help. And so next year I'll offer it to any families that want to take it. I'll set up test dates for literacy, for language arts and mathematics. And then I actually print out the packets, talk to the parents about how to effectively understand them.
We pay for map testing, and, you know, we use it in all of our schools.
Oh, I did for 15 years as a classroom teacher. It was a powerful tool.
Well, and the Homeschool Academy is not bound by the
Yeah, we don't take
by
the
the
state
and
assessments.
they have not been. That's the way it's been set up for all 5 years.
Yeah, homeschools, families do their own literacy program and their own mathematics program, and then we bring in the science and humanities and arts. That's our focus.
Are there any other comments?
Good job.
Yeah,
Been a great 5 years.
I know, it's been,
Thank you. It has
it's just been
It's
a, like
been
exponential
the highlight of
growth.
my professional life.
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you.
Um,
Yes.
I know you said it, how many staff members do you have?
We had 9 this year,
Okay.
and I'm able to bring one person on 4 days a week for next year, so,
So you'll have 10
We
with
have
that increased
7
student
and
number. Yeah.
7 and you.
yeah, we can reduce 2 staff by allowing another staff member to have more days.
Oh,
A certified
oh,
educator.
I got you. Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
All right.
So there's 9 this year, but
Okay.
thank you.
Thanks, Melinda.
I will invite Matt Deal up for our facilities report. He's our facilities director. Hello, Matt.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yes.
Again, I'm kind of recapping the 2018 facilities assessments done by Corey Trapp, Longwell Trapp, Architects, and Jim Coleman of Coleman Engineering. Tonight we're going to go through Southside Elementary and then Farm and Stidwell. So I'll start with Southside.
Page 19 in the binders. And
So
then one not there.
Southside currently has an enrollment of around 147. The school was built in 3 sections existing. So the gym and cafeteria, and the stage, kitchen, gym and cafeteria is the same thing. That's the old original from 53. And then at one point, the rest of the school burned down, but they saved the cafeteria and gym. So the 53 section has some pretty significant snow load issues. It's a 30-pound rated roof that's flat with parapet walls. So we do get some snow loading in there. The roof is nearing the end of its useful lifespan. The gym has no fresh air ventilation, so that is one of the projects that we'll be commissioning design for probably later this summer. That design will take some time with construction happening at a later date, but that's one of the big priorities. That's the gym. The plumbing in the gym, the waste piping, similar to Northside, it's the very galvanized, really not good. Next section of the building going down is the majority of the classrooms in the office. That section is from 1970. Pretty decent wall structure, roof, trusses, structurally pretty decent. Again, really needs mechanical, plumbing, retrofit, electrical. All that is, 50 years old now. Then down at the end, there's a couple more classrooms that are from '84. It does talk about VCT floors coming loose. We did replace those a couple summers ago. We replaced the subfloor. we did have a large steam leak there this winter, required a lot of moisture mitigation and insulation replacement, steam line repair. Just this week, when our HVAC guy got on the computer every morning, we log in and remotely can see in the older buildings very limited information on the heating system, but we get a good idea before anybody even arrives. Is the central plant, the boiler, is it working? Because this week we actually needed to run heat again. Well, Dwayne reports to me, I'm heading to Southside, there's no heat. I had another guy there working on the water system. He calls, there's water pouring out of the boiler. So we actually have a failed tube in the boiler, which I'm really glad, because this week we were unable to run heat. And because of the weather, nobody will come in for an emergency repair. So we do have a repair scheduled probably about a month out. We will contract that out, replacing the tube or tubes in the boiler. That boiler's not super old, but it just has a bad tube. A lot of ADA issues at Southside, a lot of issues with the playground and drainage and mud getting tracked in the building. Not unlike the other schools I've talked about, Southside needs some work, but it is safe and functioning. Any questions on Southside?
No, thank you.
I'll move on to Farm and Stidwell. Farm and Stidwell currently, I think around 500, just over 500 kids. When I looked up, it looked like about 505. That too, like the other buildings, has ADA issues inside and outside. We did get some grant funding a few years ago and did quite a bit with sidewalks and the entryway. We've done quite a bit of work there, but there's still, a good example is the gym. You can't get from the main part of the school to the gym without going downstairs.
Yeah.
So, looks like we've got a 1963 section, I believe, is the older section of the school. That section is the area of the building that, the older sections naturally have most ventilation issues. So that, as far as the ventilation priorities that we looked at, and I don't know if you ever saw the spreadsheet that I put together a few months ago, but that would have been the priority 2 projects that we won't be able to tackle with this funding that's now available, because I think to address the priority 2 projects at that school is probably $500,000 in itself.
Yeah.
So that would be the east section of the building, is that older section. Definitely plumbing, old plumbing, and ventilation issues. We have really tried to, keep up on replacing the flooring as we can, and things like that. The walls and roof structures is pretty good there. We do have a pretty significant roofing project there this summer with some maintenance, not re-roofing, but actually applying some coatings over some areas that have been problematic for years. We started doing that out of Sagal in some problematic areas, and it really has worked well. Like in the valleys where we get ice dams and stuff, some of these coatings, and they really, we're monitoring them, watching the coatings, and they're really holding up well. So we're doing some more of that, because there's just not the funds for a total re-roof like we would like to do. So I talked about the older section. 63 was it, and then the 73 section, which would be the gym and everything west of there. Good,
Which has the larger number of classrooms. No, I guess those classrooms in the east section include everything around the commons. Is that older stuff?
Yeah,
too?
that's
all
newer.
old.
So everything.
Oh, that's
I
new.
would
The
think
library. The library and everything is 73.
63.
No, that's
This is all 63.
the library's older.
Okay. Okay.
The split is
yeah,
just
I'm
to the right of the gym.
Yeah.
So now we're talking about to the left of that on your map, or to the west,
Yes.
is the 73 section. Again, the walls are in pretty decent shape, the roof structure is in pretty decent shape. We do have, probably inadequate snow load rating. We do have to shovel every once in a while. that section has better ventilation, much better mechanical ventilation that brings fresh air in. Biggest problem with that section of the building is the galvanized pipe buried again in the moist high water table North Idaho dirt and sand, so it stays moist and it corrodes from the outside. You know, the galvanized coating only helps for so long, and there's no galvanized coating where they cut the threads on the pipe. So we do jackhammer the floor up there, and I think in the past last summer, I believe, we had a massive flooded area, jackhammer up, replace now we're talking about domestic hot water, not the steam that we talk about so much at other schools. So
I like your time-lapse video of those repairs.
yeah, they're fun.
They're useful, I was gonna say.
So, less problems, less issues, Private Farmstead, well, but again, like the other schools, not without needs. And, but we are, I believe, doing a really good job of, prolonging the lifespan and the deferred massive remodels that ideally would be happening.
Right.
How's the ADA at Farmstead? Well, is it similar to everywhere else, or is it better?
Yeah, similar to everywhere. Like bathrooms, totally not ADA compliant as far as your stalls.
The widths.
We have gone in, before I started even, they went in and removed some stalls and took out some fixtures. But then the existing toilet, for example, might be too close to the side. It doesn't have the proper handrails. Maybe technically the ADA stall door is supposed to automatically swing open so somebody can go in. Everything from that to the height of the sink, the amount the sink sticks out from the wall so somebody in a chair can effectively wash their hands. When we installed over the last summer we installed a whole bunch of the, bottle filling drinking water. So we always do everything we can to, any of those updates, try to do everything we can ADA. Most of the levers on doors have been converted to levers instead of knobs. But, like I was saying, the elevation change from that school, probably the biggest issue is the elevation change from the hallway to the gym. That's really unfortunate when you've got a population in that school too that might be mobility challenged.
Yeah, you're right.
And then there's stairs, so they'd
They'd
probably
have to
go outside.
Yeah, out the front door and
But
around.
it's Idaho, so.
Yeah, not always feasible.
Yeah.
And again, I just want to remind the board, the purpose of this was just to review so that we're not in a position right now to be making all of the corrections, but I think it's important that we stay informed of the state of our facilities and just where future needs will be coming our way.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
And again, just want to thank Matt and his team for keeping the buildings going. So,
You're getting an excellent value from our
Yes.
team, I can
Yes.
assure you of that.
Thank you.
We do feel assured of that. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
At this time, I'll entertain a motion for consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as published.
I second that motion.
Okay, moved and seconded. Comments? This would be your comment time. Do you have questions, comments?
So my question, comment is on the school buses. I would like to request that we submit, that we get a competitive bid for school buses that have that are fitted from the manufacturer with seat belts. I understand that it's not economical to retrofit school buses, but new school buses can be manufactured not only with the belts, but with the seats and the reinforced floor necessary to support the seats and the belts. Seat belts, all other vehicles on the road in this country require seat belts. And I think it's just a matter of time until federal government also requires that all school buses be retrofitted with seat belts. I've talked to James about this. You know, he acknowledges that seat belts have been around long enough now, and enough districts, and enough states have used them, that the data is clear. You know, they are safer, they do save injury, and in our mission, you know, to make school as safe as possible, I think we should consider converting to seat-belted buses, or beginning that conversion.
So I would like to just ask maybe our transportation director, James Kaler, if you have any.
To answer that question, we are going to request 2 bids from each vendor, one with seatbelts and one without seatbelts, to do a cost comparison.
Okay. Okay. That'll allow us the opportunity to see both and see what that looks like against our budget, and as well, and maybe at that time we'll have a conversation about the practicality of trying to seatbelt and unmonitored.
Well,
Back of the bus.
I did
But
some research.
not right now.
I did some research into that too. I had the chance. The Coeur d'Alene School District, our neighboring school district, has been buying seat-belted buses for several years now. And I had a chance to see one of these buses, inspect one of these buses, talk to the driver of one of these buses at an activity here in Sandpoint. I was very impressed with the installation from the factory of the seatbelts. And I asked the driver, you know, this exact question, you know, is it difficult to get the children to use the seatbelts? And he said for elementary age children, no problem. You know, they're all used to wearing seatbelts in their mother's cars, and it's no problem.
I'd like to have you maybe bring that conversation up when we are considering
Okay.
the bids and it's in front of us and we're making a conversation that's a little more directed. But at this time, if there's no other comments on consent agenda, can I have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes on the consent agenda, so thank you for the comments. Trustee Subaru. We have 2 items from Superintendent Albertson to review, and the first is our school operations plan for next year.
Right. Let's see if I can get this to connect. And this is basically, you can ask me questions as we go along here.
Okay.
And so basically, just starting off with what our foundation is, and you know, we're all very hopeful that we'll be back to normal operation.
Yeah.
With you know, maybe a few adjustments, but obviously our base here is safety and a positive culture. We think next year is going to kind of be a reset year, and a reset in Teach Twos, and that is basically having some questions there. How do we want staff to teach? How do we want students to act? How do we want students to learn? You know, really, we hear a lot about learning loss, and I really feel that we have, for the most part, shown a lot of growth in our district and some very pockets of very high achievement on our state exams. So I feel comparatively to other parts of the country or what you hear about, is there going to be learning loss? Yes, but I think we're in a pretty good position. But I still think that we are going to have probably one of the some classrooms with some variation of abilities, and so we need to be able to assess those, and then we need to have a support plan, multi-tiered support systems for students that maybe not be at grade level, but at the same time as we don't want to hold students back. So really, that's kind of our overall philosophy, and I know that seems very simple at this time. One thing I do want to mention is that you know, we will continue some safety protocols. We will maintain additional custodial staff for heightened sanitation. We had, I believe, added 5 additional custodial positions this past year, and Matt, I believe we're going to maintain 3 of those 5.
As long as we can fill the open positions.
Okay, yeah, as long as we can find employees. The idea was is that we were going to go back to instead of 5 to 3. Matt had mentioned a little bit. We're going to be looking at mechanical upgrades. We'll be in the planning phase. It's not as simple as going in and saying, okay, hey, we can just hire somebody to increase our ventilation systems in some of our schools. And Matt has done a great job with his team to look at some of our highest needs in our building. So upgrading ventilation systems, touchless water faucets, a few of those things we will be looking at district-wide. Continuing hand washing protocols, personal water bottles, encourage hand sanitization stations will still stay in place. But as far as what a classroom looks like, it will be back to where we were pre-COVID. I do want to remind the board that there's the Idaho state requirements of the instructional hours per year. And when we're putting our master schedule together, these are some guidelines that we need to follow. And I don't need to read these to you, but it is somewhat staggered. The state of Idaho, when you get down to kindergarten, it is for only 450 hours, but we are going to be offering all-day kindergarten for the families that want that. As Melinda mentioned, they'll be back to their full strength, regular schedule. And so just keep that in mind. One thing that you will have to approve is our start and end times of our schools. As you can see, we did not put them in alphabetical order here. We put these in the order of our transportation department and where we get our kids to our school and our outlying areas and as we bring them to town. So, having kids arrive, they're going to arrive at Northside and Southside Elementary much earlier than they would the town schools. Okay.
Explain that.
Yep. Yeah. And so basically, this is what we're looking at here. If you look at the bottom, Sandpoint Middle School, and we're going to talk about some of the scheduling. Strategic scheduling for learning loss. And one thing that we did have at Sandpoint Middle School, and students would be arriving at about 7:55. So there's like a 30-minute to 25-minute where teachers wanted to have their common prep time, and teachers are coming in earlier. Teachers are going to be coming in at 7:15 to have a common prep. So similar to this year, every teacher will be teaching every period instead of having some on prep periods, so it'll reduce their class sizes. But students then would be, that would be the breakfast time. There would the supervision in the lunchroom and in the gymnasium. But parents could wait, and
come.
if they're bringing their kids,
So there's
they'll
that
leave 20.
About 25-minute lag where kids are either in the gym or in the lunchroom.
Or coming,
or not
or
there yet.
coming.
Yeah, but the bus
Correct.
arrivals.
Right. The
have
bus
25
arrival
minutes.
has to come in so that we have
Yes.
students arriving for Sandpoint High School
In time.
at least 10 minutes before school starts in order for them to get
That makes
the
sense.
food. So this is basically what we're proposing here as far as start and end times. Now, the question that you may ask is, okay, where is that compared to what we usually are? With that schedule, kindergarten will have definitely greater than 5 days. So we always built extra days into the calendar for emergency closure days. And basically by doing the calculations of the minutes that we would send to the State Department of Education, all grade levels would have greater than an extra 5 days or more. Some of them much more, but I just wanted to let you know that. The only one that we're a little tight on would be seniors. They do get out.
Keep them in longer.
Well, they get out a little bit, a few
Yeah.
days earlier. And there's some things we could do is that if we really had 4 closure days and had to go to that 5th, we could count graduation practice for 1
Yeah.
hour as an hour of instruction to make sure we meet the state's
That's
requirements, so.
So the only question I quickly have is
Uh-huh.
the state requirement for seniors is lighter
Correct.
because they have.
Usually can graduate earlier.
Yeah, because there's the option to graduate if your credits are, they have to fulfill all their credits, but
Correct.
then they don't need to fill hours. of
Right,
them.
right. This is just the hours of instruction. Now, in addition to this, if you're giving credits at the secondary level, every course needs to have at least 60 hours of seat time, unless we as an LEA or you as a board approve a variation of that. Mastery-based learning could be one example of that. So you do have some local control if we were, but all of our classes have at least hit the 60 hours of seat time.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so how, and again, this is not a very, not getting into the granular parts of learning loss here, but how are we going to address learning loss? We are maintaining our certified staffing, so we're not reducing that. We did increase, using some of our federal dollars that we got, increasing our paraprofessional support in the classroom. So some of those federal dollars kept our certified staff intact and also increased our paraprofessional matrix. And so what we do is we make sure that by the size of the school, they get paraprofessional hours, and then we increase that in that same proportion. Strategic schedules to support students. I have a slide that'll talk about that. Review, revamp, emphasize our academic and behavioral multi-tiered support systems throughout the district. Intervention supplementary materials. Reading an interesting article is that it's not that our materials now, you don't need to go out and buy something new for the magic bullet for learning loss. It's good connections with students, solid learning environment, where kids are, being engaged and learning. And Andrea and her team has done a great job with, having a solid curriculum that we already have. But we do have some things like, the math IXL, and a few tools that we're looking at, not to try to throw a silver bullet out there, but just to support the teachers. We did increase elementary counseling. We're adding one counselor. High collaboration, PLC teams in all buildings. We're very excited about that. And also with Fidelity, at every elementary school, there'll be 90 minutes of math instruction and 120 minutes of ELA instruction per day. So that's one of our, tights that we're not going to have any variation in schools. There could be some other things that could have a little bit of flexibility, but this is the one area that will be very consistent there that we believe in. At the secondary schedules, just so you're aware of, Clark Fork is going to have an A-B block schedule, and we do have to write a narrative of how we're addressing learning loss. And so we let each, I should say but gave each building some autonomy to be designing a schedule of how they're going to address learning loss. So with the A-B block schedule, they're reducing they're going to have 75-minute class periods, but they are going to have a daily intervention support class. So every student will have that extra period that will be built into Clark Fork's schedule.
Across the board, every 75 minutes of.
Phil, what is the length of your support class? 75 minutes? Okay, right.
Cool.
LPO, it may be, I think it's at least 60. LPO is gonna have their 4x4 block schedule. That's what they've traditionally always had. But then the length of the day will be back to the normal length of day, so they can add their intervention advisory period back in to support their students there. Sandpoint High School, for one more year, will stay in the 4x4 block schedule. Again, that would be there's pros and cons to that, but the idea is that a student is only balancing 4 classes at one time. And we do not know if there's going to be some disruption of some pockets of students' education. We certainly hope there's not, but we don't know that there still could be some disruption there. So 90-minute periods with Mr. Miles will be working with his staff on having the support built into those classes as far as intervention strategies. Sandpoint Middle School is more of a 5x5 block with a separate support class built into the schedule. And as you had picked up of the start time of being at 8:20, that's because of a common prep in the morning equating to smaller class sizes, and they felt they could better meet the needs of students with smaller class sizes.
There's another one to sleep in.
Yeah. Other things, educational options for families, I truly believe that, maybe remote learning and online learning was a positive for some families. I didn't hear a lot of families. They preferred face-to-face, but there are some out there that online was very positive. So, but our educational options are all students will be enrolled in a face-to-face instructional setting. Attendance is going to be expected outside of a parental excused absence. I mean, we've got to, so when we go back to the work
Same
that
as
we
well.
have, it's going to be an adjustment. We have,
Right.
yeah, there was a lot of hardships this year, but also there were some freedoms. And so with that, getting back into our routine is going to be an adjustment. Students are expected to attend school a minimum of 90% of the scheduled days. I mean, that is in state statute. For the online learning, we are not going to be doing, that you might read an article that there's e-learning schools, that school districts are creating their own e-learning. We're going to, again, rely on Idaho Digital Learning Academy for that. Elementary or middle school students wanting to continue learning fully online can enroll in Idaho Digital Learning Academy, and we can assist them in getting that done. Elementary and middle school levels will have the option to enroll in ELA, math, science, and social studies courses. So this year, one of the, I guess an addition for the elementary is they'll add the science and the social studies. So that is an additional option there. Just don't want families to believe that they could get enough credits at the high school level by fully graduating by sticking with IDLA for 4 years. IDLA was not meant to be a full online school to get enough credits to graduate at the secondary level, but that doesn't mean they couldn't for next year if families felt more comfortable, and then work with the school counselors to do a 4-year plan and do some type of blended learning between IDLA and or having some classes at face-to-face. So there are some options there that we will be communicating to parents. And food service, summer meals program will be going on this summer. Free breakfast and free lunch in one bag for all children in the community ages 1 to 18. That continues. We do have the pickup locations at Farman and Kootenai. Here are the times we will publish that. No income or household information is collected. Grab-and-go meals to be picked up. And then also within our 21st Century STEAM programs that would be available. Next year, we still will continue for all students will eat for free. And we're working through that details. Clark Fork, this is coming from food service, did survey their population there for breakfast, and it didn't seem to be at this point in time something that was wanted or popular. But we still have that flexibility to add that in there if that were to change. Again, and then, James talked to him. We'll be back with our regular routes next year, regular length of day. One of the silver linings that we found is that the high school students and middle school students riding together in the afternoon was a positive versus having the middle school ride with some elementary students. So that will be probably, James, you'd say the major adjustments going into next
Yeah,
year?
and I think that was probably the biggest significant change carried over from this year that we learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and I still think our current COVID self-isolation quarantine protocols will need to be implemented in the case of a positive COVID case and or close contact. This protocol could be adjusted in August based on information at the time. So I think that's something that we can always be watching, but, that's kind of what I have for you. Questions you have, something that maybe we don't have in here that you think you would like to know more about? Gary?
Well, I'd like to ask you or Dave, you know, to elaborate on the 4x4 block, the expanded 4x4 block.
Right.
And how that's gonna differentiate from the current, you know, shortened 4x4 block.
They're gonna be
Hours in the
back
seats.
to 90-minute periods.
Is there still gonna be the access time?
Yes.
And
And also interventions there'll be within that classroom as well. So,
there'll be intervention time, there'll be access time.
Right.
There'll be four 90-minute blocks per day, and then how often will the blocks rotate?
well, Dave, do you want to speak to that? I mean, I think they're terms.
What
Yeah,
is your
absolutely.
question on that?
So I don't know what you mean by it depends
I
on the
don't know what you
class,
mean.
but there's 4 terms in a year. Most classes are going to be 2 terms.
So quarterly, one class schedule lasts.
Most classes will be semester. So classes would rotate for most classes every semester, but there will be some that will rotate quarterly.
You would have completed your coursework in January, which would have been in previous schedule a full year. You'd be done in January and you'd be starting a new course.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we had some comments this year about students who were
Right.
involved in AP classes that were
Right.
offered in the fall, and
Yeah.
they didn't feel prepared to take the test in the spring. Is there a way we can address that?
I think checking the master schedule out of when we offer those.
Right. I mean, that's one of the drawbacks, but one thing that we're looking at is trying to offer more of those in the spring instead of in the fall, so that there is not the gap there.
Yeah.
That's
And I also put a flashlight a little bit, and I've talked to some instructors there, put a flashlight a little bit on the difference between AP and dual credit. And, and I don't know where we are with that, Mr. Miles, but I know that some teachers are saying, okay, well, maybe it's good that we move to a dual credit system where kids are still getting the college credit and following kind of a college length of time.
right. So some AP classes may be converting to dual credit classes. You can still have the option of taking AP tests at the end of the term or the year or whenever it's offered, but it would really just be a dual credit classes.
So are you
That's
gonna
not
follow,
gonna be that many at the moment.
the AP curriculum?
No, it's a dual credit curriculum then at that point.
If it's a dual credit through, say, University of Idaho, you will follow University of Idaho's syllabus and curriculum for that course.
There are some schools in the region that have already converted all, like they offer 0 AP classes and they offer all dual credit instead. So Post Falls is an example.
Yeah, so we're looking at that concern closely and are trying to address that. Is a 4x4 the absolute best schedule? We don't know, okay? But, so over the course of next year, there will be a committee at Sandpoint High School looking at different schedules and what might be a best schedule that will be coming to the board for your approval with a little more research on it.
And a question from,
Comment. The other thing to remember too is that Mr. Miles did put out a survey
yeah.
to staff and families
And students.
to try to come up with the best democratic approach, and the majority of folks wanted to stick with the 4x4.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
there's never a perfect
So-
answer for everything, but
Correct.
I think the most good is happening for the most students as possible and their families. There's always going to be outliers that have to adjust.
So this is a item that needs a motion to
Correct.
approve this,
The sheet that was in your
Sure.
packet.
yes, the 21-22 school operations plan. So, is there
It's
a-
your start and stop time that was
Yes.
in your packet.
This is what we're making the motion upon as part of the presentation. So I'll entertain a motion for that at this time.
I'd like to make, go ahead, you want it, Gary?
Go ahead. I make a motion to approve the school daily time schedule as presented.
School operations plan, okay.
Okay. Operations plan.
I'll second it.
Seconded.
The 21-22.
Is 21-22 school operation plan. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. That motion passes. And we're gonna segue straight into the 22-23 calendar, which seems counterintuitive, but it's because we do the calendar
Right.
a whole year ahead, which is why in the packet, Kelly thoughtfully put both calendars, so we're not confused.
No.
No, she put both calendars for certified and for students. Those are
Correct.
two different calendars
Correct.
for the 22-23 year. And if you want to compare to what we've already approved for next year, you just have to go to the website.
Roger.
So,
Yeah, and no significant changes other than the one date you would see is we're off a little bit
this is the
to the
student.
point at for our staff calendar. They would come back, I believe, 2 days in June.
Yeah, 12th
Professional.
and
Yeah,
13th.
the 12th and 13th. So after the last week of school, the certified staff, teaching staff, would have 2 days of work the next week. And that's just because of the way that Christmas break and the holidays land, and we needed to put that extra day in there. Really, it does not have any impact on the student calendar.
Okay.
Are there anything else that jumps out at you? No. So that is another item we need to pass with a motion. Approval and mention in the motion that it's the 22-23.
Okay, I'll make that motion too. To approve the 2022-2023 student certified calendar.
Calendars, there's
They're
both.
two
There's a
separate, so
student
it's a
calendar and a certified.
Correct.
Oh, there's two calendars, okay.
I second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that motion passes.
Thank you.
Kelly,
Yes.
clerk, Kelly
Yeah.
Fisher, second reading.
So, if you recall, we just had the first reading on May 25th of the Title I Family Engagement Policy that was presented to you. So it's here tonight for second reading. There were very minimal edits to that. Principal Jackie Johnson presented that to you guys.
Yep.
And if you don't have any other,
It was just
Any more
semicolons and
questions?
here and there.
I make a move that we approve the Title 2420, Title I Family Engagement as presented to us.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on that? All in favor? Aye. That motion passes. So we're gonna turn back to Superintendent Albertson for a
Yeah.
COVID update,
And I
maybe
don't
our
have-
last of the school
yeah,
year.
I certainly hope so. So bottom line is, we've been
Maybe
very,
last.
very fortunate of not having any reported cases since our last meeting in any of our schools for staff or students. I know in Kootenai County, at some of the schools there, they've had some outbreaks. We just don't have any that have been reported here and have not been impacting our school. And so really, I believe then the positivity, percent positivity,
was briefly, we saw it.
Is briefly
down.
there.
It's down to 0.
It's not down to 0.
It's down.
That's
but not.
for the state. This is for Bonner County. I think, and again, it's always a lag to June 1st was at, I believe, 3.4%. So again, good marks there where we had that. And then what we had here, again, you can see we're at 5.9. So it's kind of hovering back and forth down in this point. But so far, it's very good news for our school district.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, then we move right on to announcements. And we have administrators, principals. Andrew, do you have anything to announce?
I don't. Just looking forward to 3 graduations over the next 3 days. So thank you for your support in making it to the end of an in-person school year.
Phil.
Well, I've got 2 parties starting tomorrow. One is graduation, the other one is grad night. So if anybody wants to come and keep me awake at around 4 in the morning, Second Avenue Pizza, they donated their facility for our grad night.
Wow.
That's sweet.
Yeah,
Did you say
that is-
second?
Yeah,
Second
you know
Avenue?
what's coming, make
Yeah.
sure I'm awake, come knock on the window.
Wow. I'll see you at graduation, but that's about it for my.
I'll bring you coffee at midnight.
David Miles, do you have any?
Yeah, graduation Friday, hopefully.
See you there.
I'll see some of you there, and I'm looking forward to it. It's gonna be a beautiful, mild day.
Okay, guaranteed. Excellent. TJ? TJ, unofficial announcements?
Kindergarten graduation Thursday,
Yeah.
6th grade on Friday at Southside.
That's great, that's great.
Do you get an opportunity to go out?
I'm going out on Thursday to actually be introduced to the students. So.
Oh, that's
very
great.
nice.
That's great.
Yep.
Good.
Matt and James, anything else or no? And you
Noon to
just.
4, Friday, City Beach Gazebo, taco party, end of the year party,
Oh,
parent team
nice.
end of the year party for our whole school.
Nice.
There'll be a lot of
June
people
4th
there.
is a,
This Friday, June 11th, I missed it.
oh, I was like,
This Friday.
I feel
yeah.
like we passed.
In the past, if you could have made it.
Yeah.
No, this Friday,
Okay.
noon to
Taco
4
party,
p.m., City
people
Beach
out eating.
Gazebo, end of the year party, stop by for a taco.
Nice. And I got caught up on the 4th, and so I missed the time,
Noon to 4.
noon to 4.
I think you heard noon to 4 and thought
I-
June 4.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm sorry, yeah.
But I'm
It's Tuesdays.
too long a day, obviously. Okay, thank you for that. I think with that, Superintendent Albertson.
No, I again, it's the last week for celebrations, and it's graduations, and so it's been a long year, and for us to get to a point and have in-person graduations is very, very exciting, and will be a great way to celebrate. So I'm looking forward to being out to Clark Fork tomorrow night. At the event center for Lake Pend Oreille High Schools on Thursday, and Sandpoint High Schools on Friday night. So I get to have 3 graduations in a row.
I will see you at each of those.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay, well, with that then, I'd hear a
Executive
motion.
session.
Oh, I get so excited about that. Let me hear a motion.
I would make a motion to move into executive session as provided for in Idaho Code Title 74, Section 206, subsection 1B. Consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining of, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent, or public school student.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and any discussion? Roll call vote.
Trustee Kelly,
Aye.
Trustee Superger,
Aye.
Trustee Decker,
Aye.
Trustee Williams,
Aye.
Chair Lewis.
Aye.
Thank you, motion passed.
Now can I?
Yeah, not yet.